with private invitation-only events. I'm Steve Etzler with Business Development Institute. I'd first like to thank our panelists, Denise Vardakas-Styrna, Director of Marketing for DataXu, and Tom Hileman, President, Hileman Group. And of course, a big thank you to you, our attendees, for investing your valuable time with us. We have a very simple agenda. The webinar will run for about 50 to 60 minutes. The first 15 minutes will consist of a presentation from yours truly. The next part of the agenda will be a moderated panel discussion. The last portion of the webinar will be a question and answer session with you, the audience. We strongly encourage your questions, so please submit them through the GoToWebinar platform. We also ask you to please participate in 4 polling questions as well. For those of you on Twitter, please use the hashtag #BDI1, as you can see on your screen, so we may all follow the conversation online. The webinar is being recorded, and we will make the recording available after the event. So let's get this party started. About us. So we produce events for B2B companies that attract their potential customers. We have a 10-step process called Accelerate that over many years, 275 events, over 20,000 attendees, has proven to get the results that we're going to talk about today. So that's a little bit about BDI. So why do this? Let's start with what defines a private invitation-only event. First of all, the primary objective is to acquire new customers, generate new revenue. That's sort of the guiding principle for everything that we do and everything that I'm going to talk about today. So how do you acquire new customers and generate new revenue through events like this? There is a secondary objective, and that's to position our clients as industry thought leaders. It's all about your company. These are events that are produced for one company at a time. There's not multiple sponsors. And the other thing that's part of our definition is that 100% of the attendee candidates, people that we invite, are qualified potential buyers. Certainly there's no competition, no consultants, no third parties, or non-buyers. You can see 2 photos in this slide. The first photo is truly a typical scene from many trade shows. Notice the booth representative checking his email. The second photo, as you can see, demonstrates an engaged audience. This photo is actually taken from our recent invitation-only event we produced with DataXu, a company that Denise represents that's on the call. As mentioned, the biggest reason to do private events is to acquire new customers. The simplest way to do that is to simply make sure that 100% of the attendees are target prospects. It's really just common sense. While trade shows and conferences may attract some of your potential buyers, you are certainly sharing them with your competition. You can usually pay a substantial fee to speak at an industry event, but often the audience is made up of a mix of competitors and prospects that, again, you're sharing the stage with your competitors. So this brings up the concept of own versus rent. When you sponsor a conference or trade show, you're essentially renting, and the show owner owns the attendee data, content, communications, and overall experience. Producing a private event is an investment in building and owning your own company's ability to most efficiently acquire new customers without being dependent on external shows all the time. Now, let me be clear. My point is not to abandon trade shows and conferences in favor of invitation-only events, but rather to examine your conference trade show plans and consider complementing them with your own exclusive events. So how do we do this again? What's the format? We recommend, number 1, local. Bring the events to your prospects. Don't expect them to come to you. These are not events where you expect people to hop on planes. This isn't, the boondoggle in Vegas. These are local events in local cities where your prospects work and live. Why lunch? Lunch extends the geographic radius to attract your prospects. For example, a lunch event in New York City will attract attendees from Westchester, Connecticut, New Jersey. They can all easily attend without waking up very early in the morning to show up for a breakfast. Dinners compete with prospects' personal time, including family, gym, and other priorities. Remember, these events are part of their everyday workday. So we want to minimize the impact to their workday. A lunch doesn't kill an entire morning or afternoon, and prospects can easily rationalize showing up for lunch where they will learn something and meet some good people. We recommend assigned seating, and roundtable style format is key. Roundtables allow for interactive discussions. So an event for 50 might have 5 tables of 10 attendees each. We recommend that each table have a client sales or executive team member to moderate. And really what that means is they become a sponge. They want to absorb your prospects' questions, their feedback, their comments, and what's going on with their own organization so that can be used for business development intelligence. So here's a sample of an agenda that we use quite often. So we kick things off from 12 to 12:30, informal networking, folks coming in, enjoying lunch, and introducing themselves at the roundtables. At 12:30 to 1:15, this is the thought leadership portion of the agenda. And you could have really one of 3 suggested formats. Number 1, moderated panel, where your company thought leader is the moderator, along with perhaps a few customers or industry experts as panelists. Number 2, a keynote presentation, which may or may not be by your company thought leader. We usually recommend it's not, so it doesn't seem so self-serving. Often they're an industry thought leader that's not, well, maybe a partner of your company, but not your company directly. And 3, a Charlie Rose style interview between your company thought leader and maybe one of your more prominent customers. This 45 minutes also includes audience Q&A. The next section of the format, from 1:15 to 2, is the moderated roundtable discussion groups that I mentioned before. The thought leadership portion, the first part, should inspire your prospects to ask questions, share information about what's going on in their own organizations, excuse me, and contribute their own perspectives. Again, the role of your moderator is to be a sponge here. And then everyone leaves at 2 o'clock. The event's over, so it's very short. However, your work's not done. From 2 to 2:30, you have your internal team debrief where you review every attendee, compare notes, agree on the business development follow-up plan. Let's talk about content. One of the biggest critical success factors for doing these is getting the event title and related topics correct. We've produced, as mentioned before, over 270 events. We survey each attendee for each event afterwards over the many years. In every single one of our 270 events, topic is consistently rated the #1 reason for every event we've ever done why someone will attend the event. It's more important than anything else, your topic. And this comes into the first step of our 10-step process, Accelerate, where we strategize with our clients, and where you could do this obviously yourself, where you spend a lot of time, effort, and research on getting the event title topic right. This is really, really an important step that many times people don't put enough time and effort into. And we're going to get into more detail with that later when we talk to our panel. So who's going to show up? Who are we inviting? Start with your target prospect list of company names. Who are the companies that your sales team are targeting? It's very simple. Identify the functions, titles, levels, industries of your buyers. Build your target attendee profile. Know exactly who you're going after. Many organizations have this already. Using various B2B tools, including LinkedIn and others, you build your list. So what's in it for those who show up? For every single event we do, the value proposition is the same. #1, to learn about a hot topic they're interested in, so it's content. And #2, and often undervalued, the ability to network with their industry peers in an intimate, exclusive environment. As we all know, the average shelf life of an executive is getting shorter and shorter. So they're always looking for high-value networking opportunities because they're always looking for their next job or they're always looking for someone to recruit. So that networking value proposition is very strong. Not talked about that much, but it's there. And so if you can deliver on that, that will keep them coming back. After all, it's all just a local lunch. So if you have a hot topic and quality attendees, it's very easy for them to justify showing up. When should these events take place? Number one, please take the time to identify holidays and industry events. What catches a lot of people up, including ourselves in our experience, we've learned the hard way on this, is don't only analyze your industry events, but your buyer's industry events. Think about where they're going to be. That's really critical. We recommend avoiding Mondays and Fridays. Keep it during the middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So keeping attendees engaged before, during, and after the event. Number one, each event should have its own attendee communications plan with a timeline. Use the registration list. Share names, titles, companies to keep everyone excited for the networking portion. Nothing is going to keep a registrant excited or increase your chances of them actually showing up at an event if they see other people that they may know, that they want to network with. So use that as a tool and include it in your communications. Be open and create an expectation that you're reserving a seat for them. And while there may be no cost for them to attend, share that they do have the responsibility of showing up or finding a replacement or providing ample cancellation notice. With an effective attendee communication plan, you can limit the no-show rate to between 10 to 15% of your total registrants. So reusing content. As we all know, content marketing continues to explode, especially in the B2B segment. So we want to use these events to fuel that or to be a source of that. There are a few ways to do it. You could record your panels, even if you're not going to be sharing the recording, but just to capture the key points so that you can create thought leadership. In fact, let me show you an example of one that DataXu did as a result. So here, the program, as you can see, is called Marketing in the Programmatic Age. This report was created by Denise, who's on the phone, and her team as a result of a few, I would say 6 events that we did in the second half of last year. There was a similar report that we did in the first half of the year. And so she was able to create this by recording the panels, putting a lot of time, effort into disseminating it into this report, which basically captures all the key learnings from the events. And Denise will get into this more, but she's had some really good success in generating some attention, some media coverage, and other key benefits from doing this. So let's go back here. Another thing, too, from a content perspective that we've done is we've actually performed video recordings of attendees on their way out of an event. And we asked them a one-question, 30-second question. What did you get out of the event? And we have some great responses, especially if you catch them right afterward and they obviously have a good experience. They'll share some amazing things that can be used from a promotional capacity. We use this with DataXu, actually as part of an award submission. We just, happy to brag, we won a BMA award for the national program that we did with DataXu for Best Event Series, and part of that submission was having about 12 different attendees with these 30-second snippets about what they got out of the event. So that was really supportive in helping that application, but you can see the many applications you can use from a marketing and promotional perspective, even promoting future events. So that's a little bit about content. So now that I've sort of set the stage, let's actually talk to Denise and Tom, and I can share about 2 companies that are actually doing this. So let's start with Denise. First of all, Denise, welcome.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself and provide an overview of the program that I just referred to.
Sure. My name is Denise Vardakas-Styrna. I'm Director of Marketing Programs for DataXu. DataXu is a programmatic marketing software company, and I'm responsible for our thought leadership and executive education programs across North America. So really, we have a very robust sponsored event program, but we really wanted to complement that. So we wanted to produce a smaller series of events, invite only, that were focused on educating our key marketer audiences about programmatic marketing, which is our industry's hot topic, and other hot topics and industry trends, such as ad fraud and transparency. So we turned to BDI to help us do that. We started with them, I guess it was January of 2014. We devised a 12-event program for last year that covered our 9 cities, some of our more mature markets, as well as more of our emerging markets where we wanted to penetrate deeper. So we worked with our sales teams in each market to identify top clients that we wanted to either kind of warm up or just deepen the relationship, or a host of prospects that we wanted to to kick off a relationship with. We identified, it took some time, but we identified how we wanted to brand the series. So it was marketing in the programmatic age. Developed the topic, and then worked with BDI to recruit both panelists and attendees from our target marketer audiences.
So Denise, you outlined some of the objectives. What were the results so far?
Actually, really fantastic. Much definitely, exceeded our expectations. So just for 2014, so we had over 600 attendees for our 12 events in last year, which was fantastic. And then we found we got a 22x ROI. So that's driven revenue from the events across both new and existing clients, which, for me to be able to report that to our leadership team was definitely a great feeling. So it's been, definitely, really positive, and our sales team, across all of our different markets, looks forward to these every time they hear that one's coming to their market.
So awesome. 22x from a revenue perspective, which obviously is the most pure way to measure ROI. What are some of your other sort of key performance indicators? How else are you measuring your results besides the revenue?
Yep. So we have a named account list that we focus on. So these are accounts that our sales team is, compensated to go after and nurture. So we measure, how many of the attendees, for each event are attached to those accounts. How many, new attendees, or new contacts did we generate from those accounts, beyond those that were already in our Salesforce database, and then of course revenue. So we try to keep it simple. The hard, KPIs, and then some of the other kind of, more marketing-focused ones are, what type of content are we able to get out of the event? So you mentioned you're recording the panels, so that has been huge, for me personally on the content marketing side. So I actually, record each of the panels, transcribe those, and then kind of pick the best anecdotes and kind of tips and tricks and things like that, for the report that you showed. So to date, we've produced 2 of those, so one for the first half of 2014 and one for the second half of 2014. We do a big demand gen push around it, so we push it out to our Salesforce database via email. We do a whole social media campaign. We've even done some digital advertising around it, and then I work with our PR team to pitch it to our industry trades. And we've gotten quite a bit of media pickup, so that in turn that has helped promote the Roundtable series beyond just our database that we've built with you. So it's been fantastic, just hitting all of our awareness, consideration, thought leadership. This has definitely hit all of our our big goals.
And the challenges and the lessons learned, what are they? What's hard about doing this?
So I think probably the biggest challenge is recruiting the panelists. In our industry, on the marketer side, things are very, very competitive, especially if you're working in specific markets like Detroit. You have a high concentration of automakers, so they don't necessarily want to feel like they're divulging any proprietary information, even though we specifically counsel them just keep it high level, but still share kind of real world experiences. So I think picking recruiting the right panelists from both clients and prospects has been the most challenging, but we found that once we are able to recruit them, they have a very positive experience, and it actually helps them to build their own personal brand.
Well, thanks. So Tom, switching gears, please introduce yourself and also provide an overview of the program we're doing with you.
Sure. Thanks, Steve. My name is Tom Hileman, president of the Hileman Group. We have worked with Steve's firm in regards to one of our customers within three. Over the last 4 years, the last 2 of which we've been involved, we do private invitation-only events with BDI. My client's business is in the pharmaceutical space, so part of our goal is to get to reach those customers to both drive awareness of Within3 and its digital collaboration solutions, as well as to create business opportunities for our business development, our direct business development team. So that's I think we run around 6 private invitation-only events a year. We have put together several. We do a lot of content marketing around those events. My firm supports those with Steve's and his firm in driving those and targeting the pharmaceutical industry.
So you went over some of your objectives. What are the results of the program?
The results have been fabulous. So we measure, just as Denise outlined, our return on investment. We get a fabulous return on ROI on the model. We measure everything, the sales and the revenue that's generated from the events themselves. We also have a component of awareness. Part of Within3's charge is it's an innovative solution, so we have to make the market aware of it and comfortable with that. We measure the engagement of the attendees at the event, so we actually have a targeted marketing list for the year to support the business development team at Within3, but we measure their engagement in ongoing activities as well as subsequent sales opportunities and interactions with them. So the results have been great, direct deal generation as well as direct access to prospects that we hadn't been able to reach before.
And what are the hurdles? What makes this hard to do?
Well, similar to Denise, there's a couple things. One, the pharma industry is very closed as well, so sometimes it's difficult, and there's a lot of compliance matters where people don't want to share in a public or even it's a private format. So we have some of those issues around compliance, just similar to the auto industry piece. The second thing is getting quality moderators. We spend a lot of time in the round tables and getting our clients to be those moderators. So being able to access our customers to do that and provide a valuable roundtable experience to the attendees. And then finally, the content. The topics are key, as Steve alluded to earlier, and making sure that we stay timely with content that's changing in the industry, as well as having content that's highly engaging to get people drive attendance.
Thanks. So this question goes out to either one of you. What types of venues work best for you?
I can take that one. So I think we had to experiment a bit when we first started last year, but we found, because we're trying to target senior marketing executives, that we tend to go for a higher end hotel. Last week we were in New York, so we were at the Lingham Fifth Avenue. This week we're in Chicago and we're going to be at the Trump. So just providing that kind of higher end experience, which also kind of rolls into like the higher end catering, and also in a very central location that is really easy for attendees to kind of get in and out of, and just offering, things like, free valet or, free co-check, just to, again, to make the experience just much more seamless and easy.
Tom, what are your thoughts about venues?
Very similar location, I would say, is location, 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 as they say in real estate. In the pharma industry, we're targeting on the East Coast and the West Coast. Having a location that's easy to get in and out of, as Denise alluded to, is critical. The ability to quickly either drive there or public transit to get there somehow, to making it easy to access is critical. That's been ours, and once again, the nicer, more upscale venues, I think, as opposed to kind of a traditional just conference room at some hotel, something that's more intimate, more quaint, a little bit unique, as opposed to the usual style hotel with a conference room in it.
So moving to content, how do you participate in sharing content, thought leadership, and positioning your companies, and within three, your client, Tom, as thought leaders without it being too salesy? So how do you find that balance, and how do you carry this off so that you are educating and delivering value to the attendees, yet you're still meeting your business objectives?
Great question. So it's a very fine line. How we do it is we ask our existing customers and ask some of our prospects what they consider to be the biggest topics in the industry today and what they find the most interest in. We try to locate all of our speakers are industry speakers. We do not typically have any from the company itself speak. So we want to find industry speakers who can speak to that particular topic or area, typically who are well established or well known in that area, that subject. And we try to weave our messages in terms of the Within Three message into those speakers and what they're presenting. So often we'll talk with the speakers ahead of time and tell them a little bit about what we see the industry trends and what we're trying to do as an organization to support those. And we talk about the topic that they're presenting. We don't want to influence it too much, of course, because we don't want it to be just a sales pitch. But by having an independent kind of industry subject matter expert presenting those, we've been able to balance that fine line between having it being overly salesy and more of a directed topic. We actually survey on that, as you know, Steve, to make sure that people feel they're getting valuable content, not just kind of sales marketing stuff. I think we've been pretty effective with that.
Denise, the same question?
Yeah, so we very similar, but we take a bit of a different approach. So our moderator, we use our Chief Revenue Officer, Ed Montez. He's an industry expert, very well known. And then our panel are our clients and prospects, because no one really, people want to hear from the marketers, and the brands, not necessarily from us. So Ed works with the panelists to identify specific hot topics that are things that we definitely want to educate the industry on, but that the panel is also very comfortable speaking about. And then when we get to the roundtable discussion portion of the event, our roundtable moderators are typically from our sales team or our product team. And so they kind of help direct the conversation based on some of the topics that were covered in the panel. And a lot of times, our clients and prospects will ask, specific, product questions of our team, but we try to, again, we don't want it to be a sales pitch. This isn't just all about DataXu. So we try to act more in a consultative manner, and then then we can follow up afterwards if there's very kind of deep, more sales related questions.
So with both DataXu and Within Three, they're both national multi-event programs, and for multi-years too. So how do we evolve the content and keep it fresh to keep attracting new folks and keep people coming back? So, I can jump in. We had identified kind of our brand, which is marketing in the programmatic age, with our first events that started early last year. We kind of kept that topic for the first 6 events, and then we wanted to keep the branding because we had established something that was known within the industry. So we evolved it just a bit to be marketing in the programmatic age, trends to watch, where we focused on some of the really hot topics that were affecting the industry. Going into 2015, again, we still wanted to keep the branding that we had established,
but we kind of evolved it to focus more on data, which again was a really hot topic within the industry. So I think just keeping a pulse on what's going on in the industry and kind of listening to your sales team and to hear what are some of the big things, questions that they're getting from both clients and prospects, and evolving it to meet the needs of the of your key audiences.
And Tom?
Similar. We have, unfortunately, we're in an industry, pharma, that is dynamically changing, and there are new laws, new compliance, new things happening all the time. So we typically start out with our marketing plan and communication priorities for the year and year over year, and then we try to weave in the latest industry events or trends into what happens with that. So fortunately, we're in a very dynamic industry, so the content doesn't typically get stale. So we're able to continue to kind of evolve the conversation, and of course, we want to thread the conversation around the key kind of value adds of the within 3 services and within 3 solutions. So we try to work those in throughout the year. But we're fortunate to be in a very dynamic industry, and that makes that pretty easy.
So I'd love the next question. How do you integrate your sales team to these events to maximize new customer lead generation and ROI? How are they involved? How do they follow up? Is there a process that you use?
Sure, I'll take that one, Denise, first. We have it's pretty well defined. Obviously, we work with a VDI and the attendee process to understand who's coming. We have a narrow client list that we focus getting to those events, the types of companies, specific named accounts, and whatnot. Ahead of time, we brief the BD team of who's coming. We organize the table assignments so that during the round tables and during the discussions that they actually can be sitting at the tables with the prospects directly in accounts, companies they may already be working with to make it a very fertile environment. We manage communications before, during, we do live social media, and after we have a follow-up program integrated into our marketing automation platform to continue to nurture the attendees, to get them to come back to future events and also to create business development activities. And then we do an after kind of action report and debrief to see who they've met with, how that went, what next steps are, and then our sales management team kind of continues to drive the actions through. And then we pick them up in the nurture marketing process after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, ours is very, very similar process. We work with, or I work with our sales leadership at the beginning of the year to identify which markets we're going to go to, and then do meetings with each of the sales teams, and just maintain frequent communication as we're identifying new panelists, choosing attendees from our named account list. We have a very specific profile of attendees, marketer attendees that we're trying to go after, so that definitely makes it pretty easy. But yeah, just very frequent communication, and just being clear on what the expectations are of both our the marketing side and BDI side, as well as what the sales teams are responsible for.
So I touched on this in my presentation, but how do you two view the value of invitation-only events? And Denise, I think you touched on this a little bit, versus traditional industry conferences and trade shows.
I can start on this one. So yeah, I mentioned we have a very robust sponsored event marketing program. So that that helps a lot from an awareness perspective, and to get some of those contacts into the funnel. But we really the invitation-only events really help more in the lower part of the funnel to deepen the relationships, and kind of warm up folks that we knew but haven't really spot with us. So I mean, they dovetail nicely together. They don't compete. Any contacts that we're able to get from our sponsored events kind of flow into our database for the invitation only. So I mean, it's not, for me, it's not a question of one or the other. It's that you're using both to move those contacts down the funnel, and just really help support your sales team.
It's similar for us as well. We do a lot of industry events and trade shows as well, and so we kind of use the different platforms both to support each other, but also for some different sets of goals. The trade shows are typically larger awareness events. We get some of our key thought leaders speaking at those events. We have the trade show booths where we're doing that traditional approach. So we utilize them both in kind of concert and harmony with each other. And as Denise mentioned, it's not really an either-or proposition. We're going to continue to do both of those, and they both suit different types of our marketing needs.
Great. So we have a question from Brianna in our audience. How long does it take you to create the program? Now, obviously we're doing multi-events, so let's sort of back up and just talk about one event. And I can provide some perspective on this too. So from my point of view and working with other clients that say start with just one event, which we have some of, you need at least 3 to 4 months at a minimum from defining all the things, working through the 10-step process that we talked about. Do you have different opinions, or what timeline is required to make multi-event, multi-city programs happen? Is it like a yearly thing that you're planning for? If you could just shed a little more light on your planning process.
Sure. Denise, would you like to go first, or do you want me to?
Sure, I can. So we, for our 2015 program, I mean, we knew that, that we were going to do this. We worked it into our marketing plan. So I think we started planning the end of November, and then in December decided on, what the topic was going to be. We already knew, who our attendee what our attendee profile was. So probably the 6 weeks after that, it was working with the sales team to identify which markets we wanted to go into. And then we probably started mid-January, panelist outreach for the first roundtable event, which was in Dallas at the beginning of March. So, by then we had already, chosen the venue, locked down, food and beverage, all those kind of logistical things. We were working with the sales team to identify panelist candidates. So, yeah, you definitely, at least 3 months, from the first one, and then, kind of the active, panelist and attendee outreach is about 8 weeks out is when you start.
Yeah, I would say it's similar. I mean, we plan our events a year in advance. So that last November, we were planning for this year. We worked the plan. We worked that all through throughout the year. We set up the target markets, very similar to what Denise said. We set the target markets during our planning process, work with the business development team to identify the accounts. We have a pretty known account base that we're targeting, so that's pretty well known in advance. Typically 6 to 8 weeks before the individual events throughout the year, we're doing the pre-planning and the additional planning and location logistics and the marketing around that. Doing one event probably takes a lot of work, and when you get to the multi-event world, then obviously the locations change, but you get typically into a nice rhythm of being able to kind of reuse the process that you built before, and all the targeting is very similar, perhaps besides the geographic targeting, depending on the nature of your event. So you typically 6 to 8 weeks out on the individual events, and 3 months kind of the lead time to get everything going and started.
Thanks. So our next question I can handle pretty easily from Chris. Do the speakers typically get paid? The answer is no, they don't. Most of our speakers for most of our clients, including DataXu and Within3, are industry professionals that are employed. While there could be times when we maybe pick up some expenses related to getting to the event, we certainly do not pay them fees. At least we haven't in the past. So, and I think anyone who would want to get paid probably wouldn't be a good fit for these type of events, because really the attendees are showing up to hear from their industry peers, who most of which have day jobs, most of which are pretty well paid, and they don't sort of do this as professional speakers.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I mean, the more senior executives that we, bring on the panel, they really see this as an opportunity to build their own personal brand and showcase their thought leadership to their industry peers. So that's really kind of where the incentive is. And then, sometimes we do request, or recruit more junior folks to join the panel. So again, like, that's a very good way for, folks who are, very smart, but they're a little bit younger to, kind of build their speaking experience and, just showcase, kind of how they're a rising star. So that's really, where the reward and benefit comes in.
Yeah, our experience is similar. Typically, people are happy to speak. They just want to be out in front of people, like, as you mentioned, demonstrating their brand and getting more well-known and really just sharing what they know. So the payment issue has never really been a problem.
Okay, so now, excuse the self-serving question, but what do you look for in your partner? I mean, whether you obviously chose BDI, we're excited about that and we're grateful for that, but for anyone who's listening, if they're looking to work with an external partner on these, what should they be looking for?
I can take. Okay.
Go ahead, Denise.
Okay. So, all right, just really quick. So yeah, just in BDI, we were looking for a partner that's really easy to work with, very responsive, flexible. There is definitely times where we kind of run into some kind of crunch time situations, and I know that Steve will answer my call if it's late in the afternoon, if it's Saturday morning. Not that that's really happened too much, but just someone that I know that I can count on, and I know that if we get into a bind, it's not going to be all things are on me. That I have a responsive partner that I can that will support what we're trying to do and has similar goals.
Well,
yeah, I mean, obviously a responsive partner is someone who has a very organized and make sure that there's tons of little details that need to be handled, and the BDI team, of course, has always pulled through for us on that. Having industry reach and being able to help find speakers and arrange things like that is also a great value add. And then someone who just really puts themselves in in your shoes, right? Because we have marketing goals that we need to achieve and results we need to report on, and so someone who really does partner with us. And sometimes that can sound pretty trite, but it's the truth that we're all in it together. The more successful the event, the better the business outcomes. Obviously, the more likely we will do more events and the more successful we can all become. But kind of a true partner in the event was what we always look for.
Thanks for the kind words. We do get a couple new questions that came in. So Steve mentioned no-show rates of 10 to 15%. Is that what you experienced?
I'll take that, absolutely. We have maybe ours might be lower than that, maybe 5%. Typically our events are 30 to 60, and we'll have maybe 2 or 3 people that miss tops. It's very low. The only exception has been when there was a big accident on the highway outside of it one time that backed up traffic. But no, ours is probably more around 5%. Very low no-show rates.
Yeah, we found it kind of varies by market. We have events in New York, that we typically get a few more, faux attendees, as I like to call them. But when we go to, some of the more emerging markets, like, we were in Denver, we actually had more people show up than had RSVP'd, and we were kind of scrambling to get additional tables set up. So, but I think on average, it's about 10 to 15%. So we try to kind of oversubscribe a bit just to make sure that, if we do get those no-shows, that, we do have a nice full packed house.
Great. So that's about all the time we have, and we've addressed just about all the questions. So I wanted to thank both you, Denise Vardakas-Styrna, Director of Marketing for DataXu, and Tom Hileman, President of the Hileman Group, Acting CMO for Within3. Thank you so much for participating on the webinar and being such great clients. Thank you to everyone who joined us. We hope you got value out of this program. As mentioned, it is being recorded. You'll have access to sort of the recording on demand on our website, so you can look forward to that and you can share that with other people in your organization. And we hope to see you again. Have a very good day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.